Good afternoon, everybody. I hope that everybody is having a wonderful day, wherever you are in the world. And in today's video, this is another Throwback Thursday review. And in today's video, I am going to be reviewing a No Limit classic that came out in 1998. Can you guess what this is? Mystikal, Ghetto Fabulous. Now, for you, those of you who don't know who Mystikal is, Mystikal is a rapper from New Orleans. His first album came out like in 1994 or 1995. This is actually his third album right here. His first album came out in 1995 or 94, and it was called Mind the Mystico. Then he left his record label and signed to No Limit Records in 1997 and released his second album, Unpredictable. And then, in 1998, he released his third album, which is this album right here, Ghetto Fabulous. I'm gonna show you guys the booklet. This is the booklet. It shows you the chart listing on one side. Shows you the chart listing, the charts, the titles of the charts on here. And as you can see in the background, it's fire. And the background underneath the chart listing, which I thought was pretty cool. And then right here, as you can see right here, it says it's the special thanks right here in this area. And then on the back, as you can see, it has the No Limit releases on the back. Some of the No Limit releases that are coming out on the back of the album cover. Now, the producers on the album are KOC, Moby Dick, Craig Bear, Odo, Dead from Sons of Funk, and those are the producers on the album. Now, as far as like the features and who is actually featured on the album, these are the features on the album. Snoop Dogg, Mark, C. Murta, Fiend, Silk the Shocker, Master P, Mia Ox, Busta Rhymes, and Naughty by Nature, Charlie Wilson, and also Guillotine. Those are the features on the album. It is 16 tracks on this album. Oh, and here's what the CD looks like. This is what the CD looks like. The CD of the album looks. The CD for the album looks like. It's orange and black, as you can see, which is pretty dope, pretty cool. And as I've already said, there are 16 tracks on this album. The songs are, the first song is Round Out the Tank. The album starts out with the song Round Out the Tank. Now, Mystico, this is like a crunk, get you hype type of track right here. The Round Out the Tank song is a crunk, get you hype type song. If you like the type of songs that get you crunk and get you hype, then this is a song you would like. I like the way the album starts out with this song, Round Out the Tank. And Mystico comes through with a pretty dope chorus on the track. He does this track solo by himself, and he comes through with some really dope verses as well on this track. Track number 2 is another dope track on the album, and then there's another, and track number 2 is There He Go, and it's another crunk, hit buster type track. And Mystico comes through with a tight hook on the song, and Mystico comes through with some really tight verses on the song. And then at the end of the track, Guillotine is on this track, and he actually talks out the end of the track. So this track is a really dope track. It's one of my favorite tracks on the album. Track number 3, Keep It Hype. This track right here has a really dope beat and some really dope verses on it. Mystico comes through with some really dope verses, really tight verses on this track right here. And he basically is telling the story on this song right here. And also, by the way, before I continue with the tracks, talking about the tracks on the album and the album review, the single for this album was That's the Nigga. That was the single for the album, and it also had a music video for it. And that is the next track on the album. The beat on this track is dope. I like the hook on this track, and Mystico come through with some really tight verses on this track. Track number 5, Ghetto, Fabulous. This track features Charlie Wilson, and it has additional vocals by Snoop Dogg. Charlie Wilson actually does the chorus on this track, and Mystico comes through. Not Mystico, Snoop Dogg actually does some vocals, additional vocals in the song, somewhere in the song, if I'm not mistaken. This song right here, he actually does vocals at the beginning of the song. And also, Mystico comes through with some really dope verses on this track. And then on track number 6, this track right here is called Life Ain't Cool. This track features Silk the Shocker and Master P. I like the chorus to the song. I actually like the beat and the melody of this track. And Master P comes through with a tight verse. Silk the Shocker comes through with a tight verse, and Mystical comes through with a tight verse on this track. And basically in this track right here, they are Silk the Shocker, Master P, and Mystical are talking about their life growing up, their childhood, and their life growing up as a child. In this track right here. The next track, this is a solo track by Mystical, I'm on Fire. And this is actually another storytelling track on the album. It's called I'm on Fire. Mystical comes through with some really tight verses on this track, a dope hook on this track, and that beat is Fuego. Track number 8, What You Want and What You Need. This track right here features Busta Rhymes. That hook, this is one of my favorites, another one of my personal favorite tracks on the album. That hook gets me hype every time I hear it. That hook will get you hype. And Mystical comes through with a really tight verse and kills it. And Busta Rhymes also comes through with a really tight verse and kills it. This track is one of my favorites on the album. Track number 9, The Stick Up. This track right here features Mia Ox and also features Fane on it. Fane does the hook for this track right here, The Stick Up, and allow me to keep it real with y'all about Mia X and Mystical. If you ask me my personal opinion, do I feel like Mia X and Mystical always make fire tracks together? I do feel like Mia X and Mystical, anytime Mia X and Mystical got on a track together, Mia X and Mystical always made dope tracks together. And Mia X and Mystical had great chemistry in the studio when it comes to making music together. They have made some classic bangers together when they got on songs together. Now, having said that, Mia X comes through with a tight verse on this track, The Stick Up, and then Mystical comes through with a tight verse on this track. This track right here is another banger on the album, and another one of my favorites. Track number 10, I Smell Smoke. Mystical actually does this track right here solo by himself. And this right here is a weed smoker type song. And it's basically like a part 2 to that song Still Smoking from his second album Unpredictable. It's a part 2 to that. And the beat on this track is dope, and Mystical comes through with some dope verses on this track. Stock Your Chips. This track right here features Master P and C Meta. Master P does the hook for this track right here, and C Meta comes through with one of his best verses, in my opinion, that he ever spit on this track right here. That verse that C Meta spit on Stock Your Chips It's fuego. And for those of you who don't know what fuego means, it basically means the verse was fire. And Cimetta comes through with a fuego verse on this track, Stock Your Chips. And Mystico also comes through with a fuego verse on this track right here, Stock Your Chips. And it's basically talking about stocking your chips, balling till you fall, and fuck the haters. The next track number 13, this track right here features Naughty by Nature. This is another banger on the album and another one of my favorite tracks on the album. The hook is fuego. The beat is fuego. When Mystico comes through with a very tight verse on this track, Tretch comes through with a dope verse and kills it as usual like he always does. And then he also comes through with a tight verse on this track and he kills it also. So Dirty South, Dirty Jazz is another one of my favorite tracks on the album. Track number 14, y'all, Mystico does this track right here solo, and the beat on this track is dope, the hook is dope, and Mystico comes through with some really dope, really tight verses on this track number 14, y'all. Track number 15, Let's Go Do It. This track features Snoop Dogg and Silk the Shocker. And Mystico and Silk the Shocker, one thing I always say about Mystico and Silk the Shocker, Mystico and Silk the Shocker, anytime they actually did tracks together, they are Silk the Shocker and Mystico always did dope tracks together when they collaborated on songs. I never heard a whack song that they did together. Every song that Silk the Shocker and Mystico collaborated on, the track was fire. And Silk the Shocker and Mystico just have great chemistry in the studio. And Silk the Shocker comes through with one of his best verses that I ever heard. Snoop Dogg comes through with a dope verse on this track, and Mystico comes through with a dope verse on this track. This track is okay. I don't really care for this track as much as I do the other tracks on the album, but it's okay. Track number 16, What's Your Alias, which is another one of my favorite tracks on this album, which is a great way to end the album. By the way, this song right here gets me hype and is a really dope track. This track features Mark, Fiend, and also this track features Silk the Shocker. Mystico comes through with a dope verse on this track. Fiend also comes through with a dope verse on this track. Mark comes through with a dope verse on this track. And Silk the Shocker also comes through with a dope verse on this track. And this track is fire. And they don't sell this album in stores no more, obviously, because this album came out 23 years ago. This album came out way back in 1998. So if you want to get this album, you would have to order this album from Amazon.com or order this album right here from eBay.com. Now, as far as like what I would rate this album right here, I would rate this album a 9 out of 10. If you don't have this album right here, I would highly recommend you getting this album right here, because this album right here is another No Limit classic. I want to thank y'all for watching today's video and have a wonderful day.